So the first year of college can be really challenging for a number of reasons, and it's one of those things that there's a bunch of things to prepare you for, and just life kind of hits you. So I know I struggled when I got out of high school trying to go to school. I know Julian did, and that's what we're going to talk about on this episode.
Welcome to ByteSized Talk. I'm Joop. This is Hempy. Let's talk about it.
All right, so we both come from different backgrounds as far as the way me and Julian approached high school. I was always the most math I did in high school was where can we buy the cheapest beer that Chad can buy beer from, because Chad is my buddy who was like balding and had a beard. So like where could we possibly get the best?
Dude looked like he was 40 while he was like 18.
Yeah. That genetic curse was our blessing. But yeah, like we used to do like beernomics is what we would call it. Like,
Yeah.
oh, dude. And then once we had somebody who was willing to buy for us, I know your generation tends to call that a pullout, if I'm not mistaken.
Pullout, yeah.
Yeah,
Back in my days, we used to call him a pullout.
yeah, pullout, and then you guys also use the term for obtaining substances, things, not just you, but like not explicitly you, but like your generation, pullouts and plugs, which
Plugs,
is
yeah.
kind of
Little sus.
yeah.
Let me ask my plug to pull out.
Yeah. That was just like some creepy old guy who used to buy liquor for chicks. Like, dude, call me your plug. Like,
whenever you need something, tell me to pull out.
yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah. So, but beyond the fact that your generation uses your I don't know if it's a full generation, but your age group uses weird
Yeah.
nomenclature.
It might have been also the area I was in.
Yeah.
It could have been something else in other places.
Yeah, I think we just called it like, oh, hey, do you have a hookup? Like,
Hookup, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, hookup could be a one night stand, so I don't know.
Dude, yeah, they bought the beer for that one night. Like, you didn't give a fuck. But dude, we had somebody who was able to buy beer from a grocery store, or like willing to go to the Mexican grocery store for you. Woo! They're swimming in 36 packs that week. Like, but yeah. So Julian was a high performing high school student. For some reason, he claims third in his class, even though he was tied with someone for
No, I
fourth.
wasn't tied. The first place was tied.
First place was tied.
So there was two first places, and then the next person was third place, and then I was fourth place. So I call it third. There was no two in there, so I added the two.
And he also claims to be
wrong.
He also claims to be 6 foot on Tinder.
5'11", but up on Tinder, I'm 6 foot. Shout out Lil Dicky for that one. Oh god.
Julian, high performing high school student, went straight to a 4-year college. Me, underachieving high school student, didn't care, took the easiest route possible. Never did homework. Went to a semester community college, essentially dropped out, and then like returned back a few years later. So I essentially started school at the age of 23. Coming in, having to start at like college algebra, like the lowest level of college classes, like where you officially start getting credit. At that level for math, English, everything. So I had like no start point. Like I was ahead of the kids who like started out way behind. But as far as like STEM majors, I was probably as basic as it gets.
Yeah. And for me, straight out of high school, I went to college, had an internship that summer. I was able to test out that college algebra. So I was doing pretty well initially. I was off on the right foot, more or less. Yeah.
Yeah. Quickly did he learn that he had two left feet. because he
I tripped on those bitches
circles.
for sure. Tripped and fell on my face.
So let's talk about your story first, Julian. What was it about college uh, that tripped you up semester one or semester two? Because it seems like the summer you were part of a program to help you transition, right? You had every not every advantage, but you had a lot of advantages starting college.
Yeah, I think part of it too is my high school is like the bottom of the barrel. It was rated the worst in the state that's 49th in education. So for me, high school was a breeze. Like I could literally shut off my mind and I would be fine.
Yeah.
So because of that, I was able to get a 4 point something, 4.03, something like that. And no effort was done from my part.
Did
Simply
that,
I was
did
good.
that give you a false sense of confidence, like going into college, that like, dude, I'm just smarter than everybody?
Yeah, exactly. It gave me a sense of entitlement, dude. I was like, I was the shit. I was
I had a Camaro, bro.
call me that Camaro guy. Shit. Yeah, dude. I was a cocky kid. I was. And so walking into college, I was ready to just breeze through it just like I did high school. Shortly after I realized like, oh shit, I actually have to read the book. I actually have to do the homework. I have to show up on time to classes.
Now,
And
when he means shortly after, he means after his third semester when I kind of had to talk to him.
so after after about the second semester, I knew I was struggling. I wasn't doing great. Third semester came around. I was kind of just lagging behind, kind of just dragging my feet, trying to go through the motions. Wasn't really putting any effort into it.
So we became roommates the start of his second semester. By that time, I had already done a number of years of
Third
community
semester.
college. Yeah, third semester, I had
Hmm.
already done a couple of years in community college, and again, I was just older. Um, but like,
You
we
were
were
my age.
roommates. Yeah, I was the age Julian is now. Um, but we were roommates, and he would be at the house maybe 3 nights a week. Like, every Friday he was off to Santa Fe or Albuquerque to spend time with his family or girlfriend. He'd
Yeah.
be missing 2 days out of the middle of the week
Yeah.
because he went up to go visit his girlfriend or see his family, or I
Just
gotta
go
go
party.
babysit.
Just
Yeah.
go party. Yeah.
Or you told me, I gotta go babysit. Like, okay,
Oh
like,
yeah. Sure. Sure. I did.
don't you have class tomorrow morning? Yeah, not till 9. Like,
Yeah. I'd get up at 7 in the morning, drive back
um, and then like our school, New Mexico Tech or the New Mexico Institute of Mining,
and technology.
Institute and Technology, yeah, but NMT for short. Um, they have like the easiest parking of any college university ever. Like
It's free.
you could typically, if you show up, like there's a sweet spot like 8.5 minutes before a class starts. There's like that's enough time for the people who just got out to walk to their car to leave. Like you could typically like park. You if you get there like 8.5 minutes before your class starts to the parking lot, you typically be able to find a spot and walk to your class on time.
And even if you don't, even if you park as far as possible at that college, dude, you could make it to the other side of the campus in 10 minutes
Yeah, so,
walking.
yeah. If you wanted to be on time, guaranteed, you just had to show up like you'd have to get there 15 minutes early,
Yeah,
which isn't the case at a lot of big universities or colleges.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, there'd be times where Julian's, all right, man, I'm going out to class. I'm like, all right, and I'm just in the house doing whatever in the morning. He'd come back 15 minutes later with or the
burrito.
soda and a burrito. I'm like, dude, what happened? Oh, couldn't find parking. Like,
Couldn't find parking that was next to the building.
yeah.
Yeah, I could find parking. There was parking, but it wasn't like 2 minutes away from the building.
So yeah, so I think you were struggling with the fact that at the college level, teachers actually have hard deadlines and they're not reiterating everything in the class 5 times,
Yeah,
right?
I
Like,
wasn't putting in the effort in a sense.
yeah, in college, it's different from high school for those of you going through the process, and the fact that, let's say it's a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, they could introduce something on Monday, have homework due for Wednesday, but on Wednesday, they'll maybe answer questions from the Monday topic,
Yeah,
but they're not going to reteach it on Wednesday. They're moving
yeah,
on. And, uh, so like the first 5-10 minutes of class might be a refresher, but it's constantly new information. If you're not reading the book or at least skimming the book or looking at your notes or taking good notes, it's so easy to get lost. And the teachers, they have, rather than just being 30 students who they see 5 days a week or 4 days a week now with like the structures, they see you're one of 100 students that they see, you're one of three of their classes. So they have 300 students
Yeah.
and they see you for a total of like 2.5 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours a week. Um, And if you're not going to their office hours, if you're not being proactive about getting help and you're hoping that maybe they're going to notice you haven't turned in homework, you're going to fall behind. Because here's the thing, professors, I don't want to say like they encourage you not to turn in your homework, but it's one less thing for them to grade if you don't turn it in.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know?
and you're paying for the class, so for them it's like, oh well.
Yeah, and that's the other thing like uh with Julian, I remember like I had to sit down and talk to him after his third semester and I was like, dude, you're paying
Yeah.
to go to school. And you're not paying just to have access to the books. Like anybody could go to a library, get a library card, read all the information. You're paying to have access to the professors. You're
Yeah.
paying to be able to go to office hours. You're paying for the privilege of asking them questions and interacting with the students and being a part of the culture of a university.
Yeah.
Um, and to me, the big transition also is the fact that for a lot of students, it's their first time getting like freedom.
Yeah.
You know, if they were maybe the shy student who was never invited to the parties because they weren't popular, guess what? Everybody could go to the parties in college. Maybe not like the
Yeah.
Greek parties, but there's parties everywhere at every level.
Well, not only
Uh,
that, but the students that were kinda, suppressed by their parents, like, "Oh, no, you can't go out this weekend. You can stay out past 11, 10," and then they get this freedom to like, "Oh, it doesn't matter what time I come back. I'm gonna stay up till, like, 2, 3 in the morning. Oh, it's on
yeah.
a Wednesday? Fuck it, I'll go."
And if you weren't an alcoholic in high school like I was, you're learning how to drink on top of learning how to learn. Like
Yeah.
learning how to drink could be a steep curve. Like especially if you don't mess around with beer first and you go straight to hard liquor. Like ooh. So you're partying for the maybe the first time. Not only that, but now you have to do your own laundry if you're in a household where your mom did everything or your parents did everything for you.
Yeah.
You have to get groceries, you have to do all these things that like how did this all happen before?
Yeah, you didn't have
Uh,
to worry about it.
you're getting these notices about different things you have to register for, classes and financial aid forms, and it could be a lot, and that could be intimidating all in itself.
And that's where that comes in to where a first year student has no clue about this. They weren't talked about or talked to about this. And so they can get overwhelmed because it's all these different things that they were never told about.
Now, when I started, when I say like my academic career started, um, I had some blue collar jobs for like the previous 4 or 5 years. Um, so I would go to the library and say, I'm not leaving until I've read this chapter and I did these homework problems, you know? And that was
Yeah.
my mindset. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just going to stay here for an hour. It's like, no, I don't get to leave until this is done. And I'd pack a lunch or bring a water bottle or, like,
Yeah.
but I would be committed to staying there 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, however long it took to get that assignment done. Because to me, I had the mindset, this is my job. I can't go home. Just like when I used to work for my dad's company, we couldn't leave a customer shut down. It's like we can't leave until we get them fully operational again.
Yeah.
Um, and so like I had that mindset, and it just kind of helped me overcome my shortcomings at that point academically of not having the best math skills, algebra skills, writing skills. Um, and it was a challenge. Like that one of the hardest classes, even though like looking back at it, the content it's challenging, but like general chemistry kicked my ass. But it was
Yeah.
a challenge. It was something I poured in a lot of time and energy, and I learned a lot. Um, but it was something that kids who were taking similar class, like be in the class and be like, "Oh, what'd you get on the test?" And I tell them, "Oh, I got a B," or you know, they're like, "Oh, you're lucky," and I'm like, "Dude, it was not fucking luck at all."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
do you want to see the notes that I took, like breaking down the book page by page and the practice problems I did and the times I went to office hours and the study group I formed? Like, um, I got my ass kicked those first 2 semesters. That's where I learned how to like my first 2 semesters is all about learning how to learn. And I think that should be what all students do. Um, and even where like the highest ending performance students go, like I'm sure you're familiar with Caltech.
Yeah.
In California, they do like they have the I think JLP lab, it's like the propulsion lab. Uh,
Yeah.
that's like it's like Caltech and MIT of the engineering world are top rank. Uh, so as I was saying, like Caltech and MIT, top of the engineering world. And Caltech actually does an interesting thing for all their incoming freshmen, in that they don't get letter grades. It's strictly pass fail.
Yeah.
Um, and that's because now that these kids are not are just like they probably came from high performing high schools, but now they're performing against all the highest ranked students from all the highest ranked high schools,
Yeah.
and just brilliant kids matched up against brilliant kids. And there's a teacher was to do a curve. Like these kids would probably like run themselves in the ground trying to learn everything.
Yeah.
So they kind of teach them like, hey, like you got to learn the process. It's not about getting straight A's, and uh, it's about actually learning. Because this is an interesting question I used to ask people. Um, would you rather take a class and get an A in it, and have that on your transcript forever, or you get a C in it, but you actually really really learn the material?
Yeah. And most people would rather get an A.
Most people said A. Like I think pretty much everybody said an A.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, and and that's kind of achievable. Solution guides are out there. Things like ChatGPT can help you out, and um, it can be challenging to want to go through that process and learn something fundamentally. Struggle with it, where a lot of people, I mean, I've done it even at the taking classes for at the PhD level, like where you learned how to survive classes.
Yeah.
What's the minimum understanding I need to get past this barrier? You know, um, and part of it's fair because you'll be taking. There's gonna be some classes that are required that just aren't your scope. Like I met people who were political science majors who had to take an intro to chemistry class,
Yeah.
and getting them to care about like doing like you
Yeah.
know a balanced equation, getting rid of the spectator ions. Are like, dude, what the fuck? I'm never gonna use this again in my life.
Yeah.
You know, where I'd be taking like a sociology class, and I'm like, okay, like
Just give me the answers. I don't really care.
cool, but like I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. Um. So yeah, college students that first year, there's a huge rate of failure just simply due to the fact that uh, you need to learn how to learn and become not just someone who does well in school, but become like an academic, become like treated as you would a job.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and that's the point is that first year students or first generation college students that whose parents have no experience in college, they don't really harp on that. They don't really understand. They don't have that support that other people do.
Now, I would say if you're going to college and you're kind of struggling, a great place to start is community college. And I'm biased with this, but I'll say community college is where I got the best level of education. I've talked to other people who have gone through the process and have gone through. I started at community college, went to like a comprehensive school like New Mexico Tech, and then gone to R1 research schools, like the big universities. And they all agreed the best level of overall education was at the community college level, because most of them, your professors at the community college level, are going to have their PhDs just like at all the other levels. A lot of them got their PhDs from those big schools. Um, but rather than being in a Gen Chem class with 200 students, in a Physics 1 class with 100 students, you're probably in a class with 20 to 40,
Yeah,
you know? And this is somebody at the community college level, their sole job is teaching. Their dedication of effort is all teaching. It's not writing grants or working on dissertation proposals for their students, or um, it's strictly based on how do I get these students to learn this. And
That and it's I mean, if you're afraid of money, if you're afraid of how you're gonna pay for school at the beginning, it's a great way to get an education that's cheaper.
now I will say the downside of community college is the lack of campus culture.
Yeah.
A lot of people who are in community college, like, oh, hey, I got this class and I got to take off because I got to go work as a waiter at the, like, they don't, they're being a student still a side thing to them. It's not their everything yet.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you're working full time and going to school, especially when it's something that you're not like really invested in, like a community college class, or maybe it's a couple $100 that semester, it's gonna be like, okay, that $400 that I spent to register this class, or taking up that extra shift that I'll get $400 extra every paycheck.
Yeah.
I can just try this class again next semester, and then once you drop out, it's so hard to come back.
Yeah.
Um, and the other thing with being a struggle of a first gen student, like Julian alluded to, your family won't know what questions to ask you. Like I remember telling Julian when I had this like big sit down talk with him, I was like, "Here's the thing, dude. I know I'm just some dude you pay $400 with to live in the house. Like that's all I am to you. I'm not your uncle. I'm not your brother. I'm not your. I don't even know if we're friends. Like we're at the best. Like
We
we're
literally
roommates.
we literally never hung out, so that
Yeah,
was in
you know,
question.
like yeah, like like we're friendly to each other. We got along. We would chat, but like it was never like, hey, dude, I'm going to lunch. Want to come with me? Like
Yeah.
I mean, would like, hey, I'm getting a burrito. Would want me to bring you something back? But like we never willfully hung out with each other outside of the house. Um, But I was like, dude, I'm nothing to you. I'm just some guy you pay money to, and you're messing up, dude. And here's the thing: you're gonna go home, and your mom's gonna say, "How was school?" And you're gonna say, "Good." And then she's not gonna know what to ask after that, and then she's gonna ask you 10 questions about your girlfriend,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's because she knows. Oh, what was this? What did that? What happened to this? Like, she doesn't know to ask you. How's your capstone project going? Are you planning to take the FE exam?
Yeah.
What summer internships are you looking for? How's statics going? Because statics is gonna be important when you take dynamics. You need to have a good
Yeah.
understanding
And
to
yeah,
understand
and
that.
that's the thing. Your parents ask that, basically the basic questions. And in a sense, you don't wanna disappoint them. You don't wanna say, "Ah, I'm actually struggling, like, I don't know." And you say, "Oh, it's going well." And that's it. But they don't realize, like, "Fuck, I can't figure out this class. I don't know what to do for the next test." And you don't wanna say that to them. You it's not that you're embarrassed, it's more of you don't wanna let them down.
Yeah, and maybe this is something that's maybe again more towards our backgrounds of coming
Yeah.
from Mexican Chicano households, that asking for help is hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to go and admit that like I don't know how to do this. I've tried and I still can't understand it. I read the book and I'm still like going to office hours is very humbling of
Yeah.
an experience. And for someone to be like, oh, you just got to do this, 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 and this. And then you're like, how'd you? And then like, other people in your class are getting like, and then that's where it's like, am I smart enough
Yeah, exactly.
to do this? Like, am I worth, like, should I even be here? Am I wasting my time? And in the end, it's something you're investing years in. And you can be like, oh man, I should just go work at my dad's company. Oh, I should just go do this. Like, um, or again, the trade off of you got to view college as best advice I ever got. My an advisor, mentor told me like she knew I wanted to go to graduate school. She said, view your undergrad experience as a chance to hone your problem solving skills.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I took extra electives that I thought would challenge me and give me some new perspective. Um, but uh, kids don't always have that perspective of like, oh, I'm supposed to try to learn and struggle. They'll shift away from the struggle. I see it even at the graduate level. Like kids will take a class and be like, "Oh, that's so hard. I think I'm going to drop it." I'm like, "You're supposed to be uncomfortable."
Yeah.
Like that's where the growth is coming in. You're supposed to be building new neuron connections and like building your knowledge base. If you're taking stuff that that's already like reinforcing what you already know or comfortable with, you're not growing as an academic. You're not expanding your knowledge base. Um, and yeah, first gen students like again, just that we have a difficulty, I think, in general of just approaching and asking for help. So like when I used to TA classes at community college, I was part of a group of TAs. Like we would meet once a week to kind of talk about our experience. And like there's one kid who on if you looked at our transcripts, he outperformed me in almost every class. He's like, Gary, like how are you getting the kids to actually interact with you? Because I walk around and like I'm wanting to helpful and like
Yeah.
I'm smiling, but like they never. I'm like, dude, you got to just talk to them. Like, oh hey, dude, oh yeah, I remember doing that. That was pretty tough. Oh yeah, I like how you did your setup here. Did it like you got to be friendly. You got to wear, you got to be presentable. That you can't be like, oh, I'm the TA and you're the student. You're down here. Like, no, you got to be like, dude, I was there a year ago.
Yeah.
Feel free,
Exactly.
feel free to ask me any stupid question because trust me, I had them too. And then once you admit that, like, oh hey, I'm not this super knowledge, like I'm knowledgeable, but I'm not like above you. Like, you'll get here. It's just you got to take the steps to get there. I was like, dude, once you like a little bit more humble with them and like just joke around, or you just like, oh hey, like I like how you did that setup, or oh, give them a pointer. Oh, you'll want to make sure to write this down. That's going to be important when you do your lab report. Um, uh, and if they're waiting for something to heat up, ask them a question like, oh, when's your next test? And just get them talking, and then eventually they'll be like, well, actually, can you also help me with this? But they'll never come to you that first time. You
Yeah.
got to go to them 2 or 3 times before they feel comfortable.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh,
As taking your class, you don't want to admit that you don't know something, and once a TA comes up to you and starts making a conversation, it's like, I guess that's my entrance to ask about something. And a lot of these kids, especially STEM, they're very shy. They have a hard time communicating, and that's part of the problem too.
and it's not just the students though; it's the professors,
Yeah,
right? I honestly, it's been my. I mean, I've had I think 75 professors at this point. I've completed 250 semester units in my way of finishing up all my coursework for my PhD. Um, I don't. I'm not going to put a number on what percentage I think of my professors were on the autism scale, but I think a good percentage of them are to where they're socially awkward, but they're really good at what they do. But as far as approaching somebody with a cold open about helping them with the problem, walking around, doing that interaction, like they might have built up enough confidence to stand in front of a classroom, point to the whiteboard, walk through problems on that. But that interpersonal connection, when you find somebody who truly knows how to communicate, like they set themselves apart, like Dr. Cook
yeah.
at New Mexico Tech.
He was amazing.
He was incredible. There's another professor, I don't want to throw him under the bus, but like he taught the same class and like there was no connection from him. Nice
Yeah,
guy.
very
Very, I
nice
went to
guy.
office hours. One on one, he was personable.
Yeah,
In front of a class, it was
he was a
just
machine, dude. It was just monotone and just to the point, and that was it. But yeah,
yeah.
once you got to know him on a personal level, he was a cool guy. He cracked his jokes. He laughed. He was actually a person. But in front of the classroom, like it was just a robot.
Yeah, or Dr. Cook, first 5 minutes of every class, like every Monday. Who had fun over the weekend? Who did? Tell me what you did.
Yeah,
Every Friday, at the end of the last 10 minutes class, where are you guys going this weekend? Let me know what's going on. Like,
yeah,
uh, he was very personable. He cared. He was humble. He would walk around. He interact. He had the best structure I've ever seen in a class, outside of like currently Dr. Sama. Um, but like those high level communicators are a rarity
oh
in
yeah,
college. The higher, and especially
yeah,
the higher you get up in the food chain, as far as like where the research levels at, you get to people who are just kind of fixated on what they do and like they operate in that realm, and their teaching effort's only 20% of their total work effort,
yeah,
and they treat it as such. And they might be great researchers, but they're not great communicators.
oh yeah,
They might be a great presenter, but again, they're not. They don't know how to bring their tone down, or be more approachable to shyer students, or that interaction. And so if you're already a shy student taking classes and you have a very introverted professor, that could be really
it's
tough.
it's a storm. Yeah, it's a shit show, and it's tough for the student. The
Yeah.
professor is
So
just doing business as usual.
So let's talk about what somebody can do to better their college experience. As far as academics, we're not going to get to the like Greek life or like, dude, get like, you know,
Greek life was
uh,
non-existent at tech.
get a ping pong table, some red, some red cups, and
Throw some balls around.
dude,
Uh,
they do a thing out here with dice. I don't get it.
dice,
They like throw it, then it hits the table, and then like they have to catch it before it hits the ground.
dude. I'm I'm
I
I'm out of I'm out of touch with the the party
Yeah, like
scene.
one day I'm gonna ask the bros at the corner, like, dude, what's going on? But I gotta wait till my ankle gets a little bit better just in case I get tagged in, you know. But what's something? What's a trick or something that you learned, Julian, that you would say anybody who's in their freshman year needs to start doing this?
uh, Three quick things that help me is one, understanding what workload works best for you. Maybe it's not those 12 units, maybe it's 20 units. And I know 20 units sounds crazy. Um, but understanding what workload is best for you. Maybe it's less units. Another thing is getting involved, going to those clubs that you might enjoy, and making new friends. Those friends are also the ones that are gonna help you out when you're struggling. Being able to say, "Hey, man, let's go to the library. I got to study for like a test." We're like, "All right, let's go. We're not gonna leave till we're done. We're done studying." Um, and lastly, is speaking up. Don't stay quiet. Just it's gonna sound like a stupid question, and it doesn't matter, but it's better that you are stupid for that one moment and ask that question than remain stupid for the rest of the year and never ask that question.
Sounds like you're trying to quote me. What I used to say is when I'd be TA and I'd be like, look, there are stupid questions. There
Yeah,
are. I'm not
yeah.
gonna. There's no stupid questions. Like, no, that's
No,
stupid.
they are.
There are stupid questions, but they're only really stupid if you're still asking them while you're taking the test.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
if
true.
you haven't asked them before that, like that's gonna sound stupid to me because I know the material. I know what the difference between a covalent and ionic bond is.
Yeah,
But if you haven't asked yourself that, or willing to ask someone for help with that before the day of the test, then it's like, oh, now it's a really stupid problem because that was something you could have learned the definitions of and like a basic understanding in 10 minutes,
yeah. Speak
you
up,
know?
and if somebody gives you that bad look to where they're kind of like, "Why is this idiot asking me this question?" Go ask someone else. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And as far as like being involved in networking, I can tell you the one thing about being in a study group. And here's the thing about a study group. Oh, hey, let's go to the library. If you're there for 2 hours, you probably spent an hour just talking.
Yeah.
That's unless
Yeah.
there's something due tomorrow. Like there's the social aspect, which is that's part of the fun. That's why you're there. That's totally
Yeah.
cool. But also, you're gonna be accountable, and hopefully you find people who you work well with who you don't want to be like, oh, can I just copy your homework? Like
Yeah.
every now and again, that's gonna happen. Like, dude, I had two other tests. Can I just copy this assignment? We'll go back over it over the weekend. I've done
Yeah.
that. Like,
Yeah.
dude, I just need. Can you just tell me how to do this? Walk me through it step by step, and like I'll think about it. Like when we go to review for the test, like that's when we'll actually like get into it. But I just need to survive this week.
Yeah.
Um, but it builds accountability. If you're working with a dedicated study group and you're saying, hey, every Wednesday after class, let's go to the library. Class gets out at 3. We'll go from 3 to 5. You have that structure. There's accountability in there that like you're bringing your notes. You're coming prepared.
Yeah.
Um,
Having that schedule set up is really useful.
yeah, I when I was TAing at New Mexico Tech, there was one student. Um, she was bright. Her first couple assignments she did were well. She was a first semester freshman, and halfway through the semester, she missed a lab report, missed the next lab, and I was like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "This isn't you. Like, you did better. You did good work,
Yeah.
and you're just not turning something in." Like, and I was like, at the time I was working in a lab on campus. I was like, swing by the lab, let me know when you want to come by. Take like a half hour. I'm all, but bring me a copy of your schedule and make a list of like the things that you like to do for fun. Um, and like what days of the week. So maybe it's like, something that's middle of the week, like going to a particular like spin class or something. Like, let me know
Yeah.
what's your academic schedule and like what are the things you want to like definitely fit in. So we sat there, we got a piece of paper out, and I was like, look, like between these classes, what do you normally do? She's like, oh, I normally like walk back to my dorm, hang out for 20 minutes, and then like walk back to my class. And I'm like, you have an hour, right? And that class you have, I know that class is pretty simple. If the hour after between those classes, if you spent it doing the homework for that, like you'll never have homework for that class
Yeah.
when you get home. I'm like, utilize the time between class, and yeah, you'll have a half hour here. And guess what? If you don't have an hour, if you don't have any homework, you got that hour back. You know, you could put it towards something else. But like, there's there's times to where you're gonna use your active brain, like solving problems, doing math. There's other times where you're gonna use your passive brain, just making flashcards, outlining problems for statics homework, like doing the engineering method, like just outline writing out the problem, drawing a diagram. Those are things you could do without really thinking too hard and just, oh, I need to do busy work. But making a Monday through Friday schedule, saying, okay, I'm going to put in a 9 to 5, or maybe you wake up at noon, you go, okay, noon to 8 is my work day.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this Monday through Friday. Guess what? Come that weekend, when you go out, you actually get to like refresh. You actually unplug. You actually get that exhale. You're not walking around with the storm cloud of like, oh, better go home and work on that lab report.
Yeah, it's
You know,
extreme ownership is a good example. That is discipline brings freedom to your life. If you're disciplined from Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 or 8 hours a day at least, that weekend you're gonna have your freedom because you were disciplined during the week. You were working, you were doing what you were supposed to do. After
yeah,
that, Saturday, Sunday, just relax.
yeah. And this is where, like, again, like where Julian said, like playing with your schedule could come in, because like some people I know, like, dude, I can't do more than 12 units,
Hmm.
12, 13 units. I'm at my max. And for me, I always did better when I had 18 to 20,
Yeah,
because I liked having a full workload and like going from class to class and like being slammed. Like I was always revving at a high RPM and like that, but that's where I did the best.
dude, my best
Uh,
semester, I took 23 credits.
yeah.
That
But
was
was that
wild.
when you had like that bullshit Spanish class?
That was yeah. I guess it
Yeah.
was 21 units. That was a bullshit ass class, but yeah, I guess it was 21 units, 21 or 23. I can't remember which one it
Yeah.
was. But yeah,
So I, again, study groups, working with other people, being involved on campus, making a schedule. Work like try make something Monday through Friday. That way, if you have an overflow, you have a Saturday. You should always have at least one day of complete downtime from your
yeah,
schoolwork.
yeah, definitely.
Um, um, enjoy the process. You should not be hating school. Find ways to enjoy. Get involved with clubs. Work with other students. Like you don't. The last thing you want to do is like, oh, well, I'll be happy in 4 years, because guess what? You're gonna have a job that you might hate just as bad. Like
Yeah,
you gotta find ways to have wins during the process.
yeah,
Um, I would, if you find a professor that you like, that you get along with, you like their teaching style, that you think they're kind of on the same plane as you, go to their office hours, befriend them, like see if they'll like become your mentor. And that could be as easy as like, oh hey, I had this problem about this, da da da. Hey, by the way, Doctor So and So, how'd you get into chemistry? Like, what
yeah,
was it about chemistry that like clicked for you? Like, this is what I want to do for my career.
yeah. And that's something
Start,
I learned from you is uh people in authority or people who are professors and are your boss, whatever it is, they are people. They have
yeah.
feelings. They have a social life. Like you can talk to them. They're not this god that is unapproachable. It's a person, and you can talk to them.
Now, some of them will feel like a god.
Yeah. So
Like some
don't talk to
professors will
them.
be like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you'll talk to them and like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is dude, like very stern, cold. You might like the research, whatever, but like just understand, not every professor is gonna be super open. But and then after you ask them a question, you can be like, hey, is there any chance like you don't have to ask them to formally be like your
Mentor.
mentor,
Yeah.
but you can be like, oh hey, like uh I'm struggling with this part. Like, do you have any tips, or you can just kind of start developing that with them. Like,
Yeah.
you got your PhD. If I was thinking about graduate school, what are some steps I should do to like make my? They'd be really willing to help you with that, especially if they're younger professors. I can tell you
Yeah.
that, like, especially if they don't have tenure, they're probably going to be looking to have
Yeah.
as many positive things in their portfolio as possible.
Yeah.
Um, but again, you can't be afraid to make mistakes. I know people who felt like they had to be perfect, and like looking back, they're like, "Oh man, I was so high strung, I never got to enjoy the process."
Yeah.
Um, uh, one of our professors said it great. He said, "You only need about 10% of what we're going to teach you here
That's
at this
very true.
school."
Yeah.
He's
It's
like, "The
very
problem
true.
is, I don't know what 10% you need. I don't know what 10% you need, and I don't know what 10% you need. So we got to teach you guys everything
Yeah.
so you can figure out what your 10% is." So just because you're getting your ass kicked in one class doesn't mean you're useless. It just means that, like, hey, maybe mechanics and materials isn't your thing. Maybe you're solid on chemistry. Or you know what? Like if you're a circuit guy,
Oh.
wizard to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Black magic, I like to call
Yeah.
it.
Or you're like a super like next level programmer, but you're like, dude, chemistry sucks. Like,
Yeah.
and you're there sitting next to me where I'm dominating chemistry, and you're like, dude, what the hell? I'm like, dude, trust me, if we were in your class, like I'd be getting my ass kicked.
Yeah.
Um, so and just guys understand it's a process. Um, and it's college is a very supportive environment, but you got to ask for help. It's going to take a very particular a good TA or a very good professor for them to initiate the help process with you. Um, so many people would be willing to help you out, and there's so many services. Um, and but you got to be proactive in that, and if you're
Yeah.
passive, it's just not going to happen. So like that story I was telling about that one student who I sat down and made a schedule with her. Um, she ran into me literally the last day at New Mexico Tech, where I was turning in the form that you turn in to graduate
Yeah.
with your keys and stuff. I literally just turned that in, so I wasn't the next time I was going to be on campus was to walk.
Yeah.
Um, I'm walking to my car and I hear Gary. Gary. I turn around and she like comes sprinting up, and gives me a big old. She's like, "I've been looking for you all semester. Where you been?" I'm like, "Well, one of my classes like just once a week, and two of my classes are off campus." She's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
like I started up the semester. I did the same process we did. I built my schedule. I told my dad I didn't want to be uh, aerospace major. I wanted to be physics. And now that I stick to my schedule, I always have my weekends off. I'm getting just all A's and B's. I'm loving my classes. Like I was so close to dropping out last semester. And like once you talked with me and you like kind of did this, like, and we built a schedule, like I learned what I needed to do to succeed at this level.
Yeah.
And that's something that realizing that like guy I feel like so many people are smart, but you're just not educated yet.
Yeah.
And that's what you're there for college. You're there, and the biggest hurdle is learning how to learn, learning how you learn, and dealing with all the variables that college brings in, like laundry, groceries, parties,
Not being able to
getting
afford a fucking donut. My
yeah,
God.
crazy ex girlfriends, like
Yeah. All that is
um,
added. But yeah, people who are first generation college students, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Everybody needs it, whether it's on one class or another.
yeah, and go and again, can't emphasize this enough. Go talk to your professors.
Yeah.
That's why you're there. If you're just going to be the person who sits in the back, you shouldn't be sitting in the back row. Force yourself to sit up front.
Yeah.
It's going to be uncomfortable, but you're also not going to be falling asleep unless it's one of my professors who I would fall asleep in the front row. No, I didn't fall asleep this way. I fell asleep this way. It then I just kind of like a flower waking up in the morning when the sun hits it, just like you know. People like, dude, I was behind you. It was so funny. Like you dude, just nodded off, and then like it's like, but you never just like startle awake. You always just kind of
Rebooting.
yeah. Um, but yeah, those are the things, guys, and it's overwhelmingly hard process, and you can't compare your major to somebody like if you're a STEM major comparing it to somebody who's not STEM. Like they might be like, oh, I'm doing what do you do? I'm doing 20 units, and I'm working 28 part time, and
Yeah.
you're like, dude, I'm taking 13 and I'm buried, but like you might have three labs
Yeah.
that are like really, if you really work out the course load, it's like more like 20 units, and your classes are harder. That's flat out the truth. Um, but again, don't go through the process of struggling with it. Like that's because the classes that I struggled with the most are also the classes that I learned the most.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And like that's brought the most value to me. Now that I'm at the PhD level, um, and other classes where I just kind of learned to kind of skate through them and survive them brought little value to me at this point. Um, and again, it's your GPA matters, but it's not everything.
No, it's definitely not.
Uh,
It's mostly networking at a undergraduate level.
yeah, and that could be getting involved with like the student government,
Yeah.
which there's a lot of benefits, financial perks. They get paid to be part of it. Like, go get that money. Uh,
We learned that. Oh, I learned
yeah,
that.
wasn't like your half your tuition paid,
Oh,
and you got
they didn't pay tuition. Uh,
you got enough to cover.
oh yeah, I got enough to cover a lot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. It was nice. And then I had my office in the main building. It was nice. It was nice.
And then you get to meet the president. You get all these different perks.
Governor.
Um, well, I mean, the president of the school and stuff.
Oh, the
Like,
president of school. Yeah, he was really cool.
yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, guys, there's so many people they go through college quietly. They struggle on their own, and then they
yeah,
end up. The worst thing you could do is end up with like a 2.5 GPA, zero networking, zero lab experience, zero letters of like solid letter recommendation from professors you worked for
yeah.
or were they your mentors, and now you are a subpar applicant. But if you could get that letter recommendation or that like, hey, actually, I know a buddy who has a startup,
Yep.
you know, uh, God, that carries so much weight
Yeah.
in helping you land that next job or your first job, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Once you get your first job, it's all smooth sailing from there.
well, not just, well, it's easier,
Well, it's easier.
smoother.
Well, it's smoother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, everybody. If you guys enjoyed this, let us know. If you have any questions or if you have any stories that you might want to share, let us know. You got anything for them, Gary?
Yeah, if there's a particular aspect that you're studying or struggling with, um, drop us a comment about it. Like, hey, I don't know. I'm in my senior year as an engineer. What can I do to better my application? Like drop us a comment. We'll maybe reach out to you to see if we can, offer a little advice or make a video addressing that on a bigger level. So if there's something particular about a question you have, we'd love to help you out with that.
Yeah, and you can also send us messages on our socials. I might have to post those.
Yeah,
to get those out.
They'll be in the description.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a good Thursday and get ready for a good weekend. Take care, everybody.